I'd like to call the meeting to order. First order of business is to elect chairman and vice chairman. And since no one else is here, I'll do all the protocols. So the first thing is I'd like to open the nomination for chairman. Do I hear any nominations for chairman?
I will nominate Mr. Kenneth DePato.
Okay.
Seconded.
Second, Ken DePato nominated and seconded, okay? Are there any other nominations for chairman? Not seeing them, I will close the nominations, and now I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Now for vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I nominate George.
George is nominated and seconded. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? No. With that, I'll close the nomination and I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor for George for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed. Excellent. So that's all taken care of. Next thing is policy and procedures. We all know them, but I just like to repeat them, especially because we're on television. I strongly recommend with all my heart that when we get our warrants, whether they're the special, annual, etc., please don't discuss the articles in public with anybody, town meeting members, board of selectmen, taxpayers, until we discuss them in the meeting so that everything is on television and can be corroborated. That way there, the chair can defend anybody's position because or the vice chair, will be present for any conversations that will occur. And the third thing is, as we all know, I gave you guys a brief synopsis of the agenda. The schools were going to be taken up on the 26th of March, public safety on the 19th, and DPW on April 2nd. Brian had sent a request to me, and everybody got it, okay, about some additional information on the operational budget that's proposed by the school department. So first I would like to say, if anybody has any requests for additional information or supporting documentation of the operational budget that's been put forward by the schools, please send them in an email to me. I will put them together and send them along to the superintendent, your business manager, and also the chairman of the school committee to try and get the information prior to our meeting, okay? If you forget something and it comes up in the meeting, we ask for it. Keep in mind, we don't vote on any of the budgets until the end of the process, so there's always time to get the information for us to, evaluate it. Brian, I'm going to give you the floor now because I kind of understood what you were saying.
Yep.
But I want you to know that I have seen that before, and your red flag is correct, because either what's happening, especially in the school department. In the school department, let's not forget that their budget is it's already appropriated. All the funds have been appropriated. They don't need reappropriation by us or town meeting, okay? However, it does have to go in front of the school committee, and the school committee can, amongst themselves, take a vote to move money from one line item to another line item without coming back to FinCom or things. So I have seen that happen where they've been overspent in a budget line item, and then they will have a meeting, and then they will transfer funding in there, okay? But it shows up that's, but that's a good question, and, we should be cognizant of that. I don't think you'll see that on the municipal side, because that's what we have, special town meetings for, so that they will reappropriate funding or reconciliation like Article 3 when they're moving money from budget to budget. But if you could explain to the committee exactly what you were looking for and then put it in paper for me and send it to me,
Yep.
I'll make sure I send it right off to them.
Yeah, so, Harry, you have the budget book for the school? I forgot mine. But what I was looking at, and then now I can show everybody, was for, what was it?
Is this the final 24,
This
Brian?
is the most current.
Yeah, this was the
This
one
is the
that
budget
came,
that the
This
school
is-
committee
that they
voted
mailed
on.
to us.
I had them,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had to
Okay.
mail it out, so the budget that you have, the proposed 2026 budget from the Saugus Public Schools that you have is the one that was voted on by the school committee.
Can I ask you a quick question before you start?
Yep.
So you're saying that that gross amount or budgeted amount is not going to change, it's already been appropriate. The only thing that we will and maybe might see is a transfer from,
No,
and reallocate.
that's not what I said.
So,
We will never see a transfer of funds going from one department to another in the school department.
so what ends up,
That's done internally.
Okay, so, but that budgeted amount will remain the same. The only thing that would
Is
Could
year
possibly
end, which is
change.
what he's talking
so
about.
what ends
is
up,
the
yeah,
allocations from bucket to bucket. Is
yeah,
that what
so
you're saying?
we being finance, selectmen, town meeting vote on, for round numbers, $30 million to go to the school committee.
Yep.
Once it's in the school bucket,
Right,
they divvy it up according to that.
correct.
Once it's divvied up according to that, if they have a teacher that leaves one building and a new teacher comes in at a
I
higher
see.
salary, lower, then their standard operating procedure or policy is that they should go into the school committee meeting and vote to move X amount of dollars from,
Because they're gonna have a surplus
you
of
know,
the year.
math teacher
Yep.
in the vet school to social studies teacher at the Belmonte.
Gotcha.
That's how it should work.
That makes much more
It doesn't
sense.
come to us.
Yeah.
It doesn't come to us. It
No.
doesn't go to town meeting. The only time it would go to town meeting is if they were
Right.
looking for more money.
But that budgeted amount,
Yeah.
my main concern was, will not change.
It will not change.
Okay, Brian,
So,
Yeah, so I guess what stood out to me was just looking through like at line items and seeing some of the approved versus revised be the same, which was kind of a red flag, right? Because I was assuming that the revised was an actual number, but then I looked at electricity and the approved was 135,000, revised was 135,000, and in my head I said like salaries you can be 100% accurate, electricity no one's ever going to be 100% accurate, right? So that was my question was, is that revised column revised meaning they revised the budget to cover
For year end.
135, or is the revised column an actual? Because I'd like to see the actual, and the reason I say that is because if they're budgeting 135,000, but their actual is 50, then there's a lot of fluff in that piece of the budget, right? So that's something that needs to be reallocated. If you budget 135, because they budgeted 135 for the past 3 years, right? If they don't hit 135, then your budget has to get adjusted, right? You can't just keep saying I need 135.
exactly.
You got to go, all right, well, my actual 70, so maybe I need 90. And then that frees up some money to go somewhere else. So that's why I wanted to see the actuals. And I don't think the actuals are on this. I think the revised is they, like you said, it got approved, this was the budget, then they revised it for that to be the budget. But I want to see in account number, whatever it is, 0378, what did you spend on natural gas at the Belmonte? So we can see if they need to adjust now.
full disclosure, I haven't looked at it yet. Is that just for year 24 or 25 rather?
No, so that's the
Or
thing.
is that for all previous years as well?
So that was the piece that kind of came up to me, right? Like 23, 135, 24, 135, 25, 135.
No way.
So with that type of budget, it has to fluctuate, right? Rates go up.
Oh,
rates go
exactly,
down.
from year to year.
It probably should
Sure.
go up every year, right?
Well,
But-
it's
I
a
would
variable
agree.
expense, so yeah.
yeah.
Especially
So,
last year.
It's not a fixed
Yeah.
expense.
and that's where I just wanted to see the actuals because then we could start to say
So,
to them, hey, maybe you need
Just,
to adjust.
if you could put that down, send it to me an
Yep.
email and use that and any other ones as examples.
Yep.
And then if they call me or get back to me on that, I will articulate it. But I will tell you this, in the past, I have requested and had a hard time, and a hard time of articulating it, although I think I'm pretty clear when I speak,
Yep.
that I wanted to see the proposed budget, the voted on budget by the school committee, because originally the superintendent comes in with a budget request. Then it gets, hammered out at the school committee, and then they vote the budget. And then during the year, these interdepartmental changes occur, And that affects the amount in two departments, because they're taking money from one department, put it in another department. I asked for that information, and then a total of what that year end was, the actual.
Yep.
And I just had a real hard time in getting that articulated so that we could get that. That's really important, because that, truthfully speaking, shows over a period of time, 3 years, okay, exactly what you're saying. Is some budgets over budgeted and some under budgeted? Is it done because they know that they'll never hit that number, or is it because they're trying to make the numbers work? We don't know, because we're not in their head, but we can get a much better feel if we get the answers that you're asking and what I just, stated.
It's nice to watch trends on that too.
Yep, trends are really important, and the point that you're making is first of all, I've never seen any energy, gas, electric, even, not just utilities, but, telephones and things like that stay the same. They're forever going up, at a minimum, at 3%.
I mean, our cell phone bills, right? I don't know. All of
Yep,
us have
they're always going up.
Everybody's got more than one cell phone in their house. We have 4 phones. My bill's not the same every month, but we don't change anything,
Right.
right? It's all data, everything's included. So why isn't it always 142.42? It's 142.43, 146, 142.
There's always a variable there, so. Yeah, I agree with you, like I say, but only one time, you guys weren't on the committee, but Teresa was, and George was, where a previous town manager, did what you said right there, and we questioned it, and that's when we realized that we really couldn't trust the numbers.
Yep.
Because that's what he was doing. When he hit that number and that line item, he would be paying that line item out of another budget without letting us know about it, because you can't do that on the municipal side. It has to be reappropriated.
Right.
And that was when we realized, this is kind of curious. We never made accusations or anything, but we were cognizant of it, and then we questioned things. Like I say, school side's a little bit different because they have more latitude, and, I don't want to say less accountability, but yeah, less accountability to the appropriating body, because, they're a bottom line budget, by statute, by Mass General Law. It's not like they're breaking the law. So it's really hard to follow, with the exception of what Mark said and what you said, the trends, watching trends up and down and everything. So if you could get that, and anybody else, if you have any questions, please send them to me, and I'll put them together, and I will send them along to the superintendent, the business manager, and also, like I say, the chairman of the school committee, because I always like to bring them on board to know what we're requesting, so.
And I think one other thing to think about too is like, it'd be nice to see for allocations that, like for FTEs that don't actually hit the FTE, right? You have a vacancy, especially if it's more than 1 year of a vacancy. Where does that get allocated to at the end of the year? That would be interesting.
Well, that was the other thing that I had requested before, and they weren't hiding, but having a problem in getting them to understand what I really wanted. I wanted to know the original FTE projection, and then the end of year projection, the end of year FTE and PTE, okay? And then I wanted to know where the funding came from that. That's important. Are you just adding bodies on, or is there being a change in one department because of lack of need or whatever? I don't know, so.
And that I guess that statement too would probably apply on the municipal side too, right? It'd be good to see, because we've had some vacancies for a couple of years, right? It'd be nice to see the trend. Because in my eyes, if you've lived without a role for a little while, do you need the role, right? That's what I always ask, right? Like, this role has been vacant for 6 years, like,
And now,
budget.
but now, and that's a great point for those of us that work in the private sector. The public sector is gonna say, well, we need it. We just can't find the right person.
Right.
Well,
right?
you know,
Like,
But
let
we
me
need
tell
to-
you,
We need to see the 6 month review because
Right.
that will show us.
100%.
but you know, the problem with the 6 month review, and I have to tell you, it may be a little bit easier now, is getting their information together. It's a timing issue. So by the time we get it, we're
I know.
9 months. I can ask if they can get it to us closer to 6 months, you
It
know,
would be
because
nice.
that's a nice tool for us, you know, to look at. But I will tell you that there are positions open because of the amount of remuneration that we're offering that is either non-competitive or there are more competitive communities out there. I mean, I actually remember we had an employee that we offered a significant raise in pay, I mean, significant. And he still left because he got even much better pay raise and he got 3 assistants rather than 1 assistant. So there are sometimes underlying reasons for that. Doesn't make them an acceptable reason, but they're unexplainable and understandable. But yes, we can question those two, of course, like we always do. I know you do, you know, often, you know, are we any closer? But I think we're a lot better now. But, you know, I mean, I know that, you know, people leave for different reasons.
Right.
You know, my son left, you know, the position that he had, and he's now, you know, a federal employee. So some people do that. But yeah, those are the things that, you know, we can ask. But, you know, the school's important. I'd like to get that off to them, you know, before, you know, at least a week or 10 days or 2 weeks before, you know, we meet so that they can try and get us the information before the meeting. And that way there, if it's not the exact thing that you're looking for, you'll be able to ask them in the meeting and then they can get it to us afterwards.
Okay.
And that's all I have. And the only other thing I want to say, George isn't here, Mark is here. I'd first like to thank Mark and George for their commitment to the Finance Committee, the town, and town meeting, and to me, for all the help during my sickness. I'd like to thank the entire Finance Committee for their commitment and getting all the work done in a timely manner and in a good way. You know, town meeting was, you know, happy with our recommendations and, you know, they supported all our recommendations. So I'd like to publicly, once again, thank the committee for everything. I can't tell you how much it meant to me. Before I got sick, I had never missed, not one, Finance Committee meeting. I just was unable to make it because of health conditions. And I know Mark fully understood because he had family that also went through some of the stuff I was going through. But I'm healthy now, and I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward to a good year. And the only other thing before I forget is I'll send, I know I already sent you guys an estimated agenda, but keep in mind that after DPW, I'll probably combine 2 of those weeks and try and really streamline it. Okay?
I was gonna ask you about that. If we can do, I think we did it, I forget if we did it last year or the year
Yeah.
before, where we almost posted what we would go over to give us some leeway
Yeah,
in here, how we were feeling that
Mhm.
night. Like, hey, are we good for a 40-minute night or an hour-and-a-half night? Does it make sense to just bang everything out? Like,
well,
to
what
give us
I'll
some
do
of
is
that
I'll ask the
flexibility.
committee after a meeting. So
Yeah.
let's say after DPW, I'll ask, do you guys feel that I can put these 2 meetings together?
Yeah.
So when I post it, because it's gotta be posted on what we're gonna be covering for our agenda. So that I'll post double meetings, but I know we can, because I know those departments, they're just, you know,
Some
level
of them
funded
some
and
of
they
them it's
just
like,
go
yeah,
right
you're just
through.
running through
They
salary
just go
adjustments.
right through, we don't have any reasons. You know, the biggest questions would be, are there any open positions and things of that nature, but not something that would, you know, take up a whole lot
Yeah,
of
and once we get
time.
through public safety, school, and
DPW.
DPW,
DPW,
it's basically us in the room.
so, yeah.
And
So,
that,
And then the other thing that, you know, we gotta be concerned is, I have no idea what the warrant is gonna be.
Well, that's the other thing, right? That's a wild
The
card.
annual town warrant. So I'm sure there's gonna be a lot on there, but how much financial, I don't know. And sometimes the financial ones on the annual are pretty straightforward with the funding, you know, coming from certified free cash or things of that nature, you know, so. But we'll, once again, you know, I will once again try and get everything moving in a much faster manner than the agenda, because I know we can do it without compromising the quality of our recommendations or deliberations. And if there's no questions by any of the town, finance committee meetings, I'll ask for a motion
Motion
to
to adjourn.
seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, so I'll see you guys on the 19th.